My Hero Academia is quickly but also so painfully slowly approaching its newest season, which releases in fall of 2022. So I thought it would be fun to try and rank every single arc in My Hero Academia from worst to first, and boy, this was a really hard list to put together. Now okay, before I get started, let me be perfectly clear here. None of these arcs are bad. I'm not saying that any of them are bad. Some of them are just a lot better than others. So don't come at me saying that I hate your favorite arc and I think it sucks, and if you do, I will put hornets in your asshole. Now before I start ranking them, let's go over some of the biggest strengths of My Hero, and that will help you get a greater understanding of why I ranked these where I did. I believe that the biggest strengths of My Hero are a huge, fun cast, complex and likable characters, a bright and exciting color palette, really solid humor, and great fast-paced action. Also, I will be using the official Shonen Jump arc guide, except for in one instance, which I will explain when it comes up. This is going to be a pretty packed video, so let's just get started with our worst arc, which is still good, by the way. Remember, your asshole. Think about it. The first arc of My Hero comes in last place for me. While it is entertaining and it has solid emotional beats, that is usually the absolute least that a My Hero arc has. The biggest issue of this arc is that it makes Bakugo too mean and Deku too pathetic. Yes, you have to start somewhere with character development, but this arc really kneecapped both of these characters for some of the audience.
I still think you should kill yourself!
Wow, Shane, that was a pretty good opinion. But how about you tell us your next good opinion? In this arc, a little rich boy brings his two loser friends, who are losers for different reasons, to his daddy's work for a fun little jaunt. And that jaunt may be sorta fun, but boy, it is not memorable. The only episode that I remember at all really is when they all have dinner together and Bakugo aggressively compliments Todoroki's hot sister's food. But this arc officially does include the Christmas episode, and that is one of my favorite comfort episodes, so points for that. This arc also has one of my big pet peeves in anime in general, but especially for My Hero, which is like weird vague power-ups, because Deku, Bakugo, and Todoroki all get better by like doing parallel thinking, but it's just very unclear like what they actually learn, and this series is just usually better than that, so it really bugs me. One of the things My Hero mangaka Kohei Horikoshi is best at is making fun, memorable characters with unique powers, and this arc shows that off wonderfully. This is when I'm gonna start being more positive than negative on these arcs, and this arc has a lot to love. The biggest stars for character development in this arc are Hitoshi Shinso from General Studies and Nato Monoma from Class 1B. Shinso is shown to be much more intelligent and cunning than we previously saw, and he adds a whole new element to every fight he's in. The same can honestly be said for Monoma. He has a tactful use of his quirk, never showing every card he holds in his hand. We also really get to see the world through his eyes. Monoma is aware that he's a side character, and not in an annoying Deadpool fourth wall way, but in a real way where he recognizes the strengths he has, despite not really having a power of his own. The visuals in this arc, however, are a real mixed bag. Like Chex Mix. Fuck Chex Mix. There is jaw-dropping shit at times, particularly Ida showing off his new limit on Recipro Turbo. However, the setting of the arc is a real issue for me. This arc takes place in a vast, endless dimension of twisting pipes, and while I commend the animation team for making the CGI work so well, it just is not pleasant or fun to look at. The next arc is another one about children throwing hands at each other for a big A+. So this arc is technically 2 arcs. I'm judging it as episodes 5 through 8, but Jump classifies it as 5 through 6 and 6 through 8, which is stupid, and I don't want to do that. Anyways, this arc is great for many reasons. Mainly for me, it's the first time that we get some serious Bakugo character development, and he's my favorite character, and I'm also just as jacked and cool as him. This is the first arc where we see that Bakugo might not just be an asshole, but a really complex and deeply flawed person. Like, a good person who is just trying so hard to be a dick. We're also introduced to much more of Class 1A. I think that's incredibly impressive how Horikoshi seemingly has all of his characters figured out perfectly before they ever come on screen. Rewatching becomes very rewarding as there isn't any character whiplash, which can happen with a less thoughtfully planned cast. What time is it? It's next thing time. Now, the versus hero killer arc, more often in my opinion referred to as the Stain arc, is probably my most split arc. It has great action and amazing character drama, but it's got some problems. The majority of this arc takes place in one dark, cramped alley, and this really underutilizes my hero's fun and bright color palette, and makes this arc just a little ugly. The large cast of the show is also not very well utilized, as it mainly only follows Deku, Todoroki, and Ida, but on the other hand, Ida's development is really fantastic. Stain is the first great villain of the show. He completely changes how you might view the hero society in this series. You also have to look at Stain's tongue, like a lot, so... Now, Gang Orca, that is a tongue I don't mind looking at, baby. This arc is really such a midpoint for this list. It's funny, it's cute, but it's really nothing more than that. There's some development for Endeavor, Todoroki, and Bakugo, but all of these elements are done better in arcs I'm soon to cover. To sum up how I feel about this arc, I thought it was filler the first time I watched it. What time is it? It's the next time for the next thing. That's right, sing and shout. This arc takes place right after the Stain arc, and for that it is a great, fun palette cleanser, very welcome, but fun is really all it is most of the time. This arc is fucking hilarious. Mainly Denki Kaminari and Mina Ashido deliver such good comedy. Also, solid development for Deku and Bakugo's dynamic. We kinda see for the first time how Bakugo views All Might, which is expanded upon later. Also, this arc has the best joke in the series. I'm just gonna play it.
Everyone's panicking right now, but it won't do them any good to cram this late in the game.
Shouldn't you be more concerned? You didn't do very well in the midterms.
Are you talking about moi? I did just fine, thank you.
The biggest sin of this arc, however, is that it just doesn't really matter. You can just kind of take this one out, and besides some character development, nothing really changes, but that is also a problem with the arc that follows this one for not building upon it, so I will talk about that later. And hey, speaking of later, next thing. This arc probably goes down as my least rewatched arc in all of my heroes so far, and I will tell you why here in a second, because that is why you're here. Hello, welcome to my channel. While the first half of this arc is exciting with tons of fun characters and great action with some really impressive long shots, the second half make me go shnoo, me, shnoo, me. It's boring. I'm bored watching it. And I love seeing the heroes do stuff that isn't just fight people, but once the exam turns into having to save people, I cannot keep my eyes on the screen. Also, fuck this Wind guy. I hate him. And speaking of Wind, I know someone that a lot of people want to blow. Tomura Shigaraki. This is our proper introduction to the League of Villains, and boy do they make a splash. I grow to appreciate this arc the more I like Shigaraki in the League. They are immediately a threatening group, fucking up Eraserhead and giving All Might a good run for his money. Speaking of All Might, wow, does he steal the show here. For the first time, we truly see what it means to be the #1 hero. I only really have one issue with this arc, but it's an issue that bugs me quite a bit. they really underutilize the supporting cast here, and I feel like that's a really big missed opportunity this early in the series, when this could have been a lot of their first time to shine. But the next arc that I'm talking about is all about this incredible My Hero supporting cast. If you hate this arc, fuck you. I will defend this arc until my last breath. It is so cute, and I'm sorry that no one dies, and it's not full of pain and misery. Oh no, it's not very epic. Go away, you ghouls. Anyways, this arc is adorable. It's just a big warm hug with lots of great character development for side characters, mainly Jiro and Eri, and we get to see our favorite characters use their quirks in new and fun ways. The only part of this arc that I really don't like is Gentle Criminal. And now while he's a good villain for Deku, as he's sort of what Deku could have been if things had gone worse, I just don't think he fits here. Take him and Labrava out and the arc will end the exact same way it does anyways, and that's usually a bad sign of something about storytelling. I don't know, next one.
Right, it's because you made us come out here.
Behold, the Acceleratonator!
This arc is definitely the most different than any of the others, and I just have to commend the big brass balls on Horikoshi for making this arc just about the villains, especially when the villains are not very popular in Japan. They're not nearly as popular as they are here in the States. This was a big risk for him, and I just respect him so much for that. This arc is just a whole bunch of fun. We get to see our favorite bad guys beat up some other bad guys, even though the other bad guys are correct, Metahuman Liberation Army forever. This arc is a joy to look at. It fully utilizes the incredible bright colors of the My Hero anime. We also get great character development, mainly for Twice and the recipient of the biggest glow-up award, Tomura Shigaraki. This arc really evolves Shigaraki. This is the arc that he needed to take another step into being a really great villain someday. And it really made the League way more intense as well, now heading up an entire terrorist organization. I already love this arc a lot, and I imagine that I will only love it more the more horrifying Shigaraki and the League get. And the next arc is also very respectable for not being about the main cast. This arc is short, sweet, and a burnin' hot fun ride, as it mainly follows Hawks in the #1 hero, Endeavor. This arc does not hit the emotional highs of some of the other ones we've covered so far, and certainly not the ones to come, but it just ain't about that. This arc is white-knuckle, blood-red action, baby. These few episodes are largely concerned with Endeavor and Hawks fighting a new form of Nomu known as High End. This arc may hold the most well-animated fight in the entire series. Watching Hawks and mainly Endeavor struggle against this villain not only sets a new threat level coming from the Nomu, but it is a joy to watch. However, it almost feels like Endeavor recognizes his flaws overnight, and I think that should have been a slower progression, but speaking of incredible action. The Shie Hasaikai arc, also known as the Yakuza arc, represents the biggest tonal change in My Hero, and I think that will only be recognized more after the War arc gets animated. This arc is a heartbreaker in more ways than one. Lemillion and his incredible character is absolutely the star of the show here, and that star is quickly snuffed out when he makes the ultimate sacrifice for Eri. This is also the first time that an important pro-hero is killed with the death of Sir Night-Eye, a character who is hard to love at first, but you quickly come around to him before he's taken. So much is introduced in this arc, from the Yakuza to the best pro-hero, Fat Gum, and that might be its greatest weakness. Before this arc, My Hero was expanding the world at a pretty decent pace, but when you hit this arc, at certain points it can feel like you're being waterboarded with new information, and also somehow, it feels like it takes a little too long to get going. Now when I said incredible action, I meant it, because this is one of the best animated fights in the series, in Deku going up against Overhaul. However, this bombastic fight is outshined for me in a much more simple one in This arc has a couple things in common with the previous, a lot of new characters, and an incredible Deku fight. Deku fights Muscular, a living Giga Chad meme who just wants to fuck shit up, while the rest of the league focuses on the main objective, capturing Katsuki Bakugo. Deku is pushed farther than ever before in this arc as he breaks himself defeating Muscular, and then keeps fighting to protect Bakugo. I know that I ragged on the Stain arc quite a bit for taking place in a dark alleyway mostly, and you may think that I have similar issues with this arc, but I do not. Even though it largely takes place at night, the colors still pop all the same, and it's always a joy to look at. Plus, this arc does not do the standard shonen training arc. While oftentimes shonen characters will need to learn one new move, or increase a vague spiritual power to get better, the characters in My Hero basically just need to exercise their asses off. This is a small point, but as someone who loves exercise, I really like how they take this realistic approach to powering up. Only problem with this arc for me is that it makes the previous arc not matter at all except for having a few characters in a certain place. These next two arcs, however, simply put, do not have flaws, and I had a lot of trouble figuring out which one to put first. The Sports Festival arc is one of the most incredibly fun arcs in all of anime. Every single scene is dripping with bright and beautiful colors, along with a mix of creative competitions you wouldn't expect and the great fights that you want in a tournament arc. The race and the cavalry battle are both fun and inventive competitions for our characters, but the real meat of this arc comes in the one-on-one tournament. Every single fight in this tournament is either straight and to the point, delivering exhilarating action, or in one case, a hilarious joke, or it is a character-changing, enlightening fight that sets up a new status quo for not only character growth, but action in the series. The greatness of this arc could simply be summed up by me just naming specific fights from the tournament, so that's what I'm gonna do. Deku vs. Shinso is an amazing subversive fight which only raises the mystery around One for All. Bakugo vs. Uraraka is an intense beatdown which shines a new light on both Bakugo and Uraraka in the short amount of time. Deku vs. Todoroki is one of the most impactful fights of the series, and it shows us that Deku will always help someone in need no matter what. Bakugo vs. Todoroki is one of the most intense fights in the series, not only showing us that Bakugo is a truly horrifying competitor, but that Todoroki is a long way to go before he feels comfortable as himself. This arc is just so amazing. It feels like a warm, bright summer day. I could rewatch it over and over again. I have rewatched it over and over again. It's so amazing, and it is only barely beaten out by the best arc in My Hero Academia. This is the best arc so far in My Hero Academia. I could just leave it at that. That could be all there is to say about it. But that would be a disservice to this masterpiece of shonen storytelling. This arc has the best action, the best character work, the biggest impact, the best voice acting. It has it all. If the USJ arc showed us why All Might is number one, this arc showed us why there was no one who could compete with the man himself. All Might gives up everything to finally stop All for One, and it is incredible to watch. This arc is equal parts inspiring and heartbreaking. Pretty much every arc has one of my favorite moments in the series. Deku saving Bakugo from the sludge villain, Mirio sacrificing his power, Eri finally smiling. Some arcs even have multiple of my favorite moments, but this arc is only favorite moments. The pros coming in to help All Might, the Gran Torino speech, All Might's final stand, Deku and the other students making the rescue. But above all, Bakugo telling the villains, "Go throw yourselves into traffic." The speeches alone in this arc are so good that I put them into my running playlist. I'm out of things to say. It's perfect. Hey everyone, thank you so much for watching that video. This is a really long one, but I liked writing it a lot. I liked editing it, so I might do some more of these ranking videos based on different arcs and series, but it's hard to find ones that have the right balance of not too little and not too much. So, we'll see. But I will keep it short here. I'll wrap it up. thank you so much for watching. If you made it to the end of this video, thank you again. I'm really tired. This video's really taken it out of me. This might be my longest video yet, so thanks so much for watching. Have a good one.